I look left, look right, for a career path.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second leg of the Daily Ketchup's General Elections 2025 live streams. It is day 5 and our second last stream of the elections coverage. And we are really thankful for all of you who've been joining us since day 1. And now we just have a couple of days left to go before polling day on Saturday. So since we started this program, we've heard from independent candidates. We've heard from candidates from the NSP, the SDA, PAR, RDU, SDP, the PAP. And tonight, we're going to be speaking to 4 members of the Workers' Party.
That's right. Where is Den?
As you may already know, to keep things very fresh every day, we've been rotating our guest hosts from the very best of the podcasting world. And today, we have with us a very dear friend of the show. Please welcome our guest host from TakeASeat with Walid, the man himself, Professor Walid.
Thank you.
We did, Right, welcome back, Professor.
Thank you. The last time, 151,000, I think, views.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No,
Yeah.
We're not obsessing, I guess.
I am.
Professor, I want to ask you, elections, hustings have been going on, right? And I want to, if you can choose a word or a phrase to describe what we've seen in GE 2025 so far, what would it be?
Exhilarating. I think there are a few constituencies, Tampines, Punggol, that are most in play. A lot of them actually we discussed before. Other than Marine Parade, I think a lot of them we discussed the first time I was here. So yeah, so far that would be it.
A lot of people, like, at least for me, every election feels like, wow, this is the most exciting one yet. This is the most exciting one yet. But I find myself saying that every election. Do you find that personally this one also is probably the most exciting one?
I didn't say that in 2020 though. That was a bit of a lame election, right? The results were exciting in the end, but during the thing it was a bit was a bit lame.
Yeah.
I do feel this one is different. I remember 2011 being distinct just because it was the first time it was really, really exciting. This one has the same vibes as 2011, although maybe people are less angry. And one thing I found going to the rallies also, people are far more willing to upload pictures of themselves with opposition, which I think never really happened in 2011 or 2015.
Right.
Okay. Well, before we begin, just a quick thing, because this is a live stream. We're going to do some housekeeping and admin first. And yes, we can see all of your comments and questions. Thank you so much for sending those in. We will try our best to answer them and, of course, to post them to our guests as well. But do, chat, please, do remain civil and respectful. And later in the stream, we're going to be having Mr. Michael Teng, Dr. Ong Louis Ping, as well as Alexis Dang and Miss Alia Matar on this show. Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, we are going to be nearing the tail end of our 6 days of live streaming. And we're coming to the end of this series. And tomorrow, to end off this series, we're going to be hearing from the incumbents.
That's right.
All right. Let's get to the news, shall
just
we?
like Parliament, the PAP has the last word.
No, I think the intention of what we're trying to do is that we want to make sure we collect everything that's being said about the ruling party.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, they have a little bit more power in the way they maneuver, but to a certain extent, their hands are bounded in the ways that they can reply.
And I also think it's fair because each of the opposition parties will throw shit at the PAP. So I think it's
a 1v
fair that they
a few,
get 1v a few, yeah.
Well, speaking of throwing stuff, let's jump into the news. And the hot news that everybody's on about is the mudslinging politics that's been going on recently and the ask and response that basically happened between Sun Xueling and Alexis. And also, not to mention, between SM Lee and the leader of the opposition. Your thoughts, please.
I don't know, is it mudslinging? Did Pritam really engage in personal attacks against Kan Kim Yong? I didn't think that was personal. I think it's fair game. It's fair game to ask those questions, right? Why he wasn't on the CEC and why he was sent to Punggol GRC. I think those should be part and parcel of elections.
What are your thoughts on the letter that you mentioned on why is he sent to Punggol? And we're talking about DPM Gun, that's right.
Yeah, he's obviously sent to Punggol to counter heartbreak.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, right? So I think that is a high risk, high reward move from PAP.
Yeah.
From PM Lawrence Wong especially. So definitely if it pays off, it's a brilliant tactical move. But I would have to say that if you are the one putting DPM gun there, then you cannot tell voters, hey, if you don't vote, be careful, right? You're going to lose.
Yeah.
But it was a move that was made by the ruling party, right? The opposition didn't force you to bring DPM gun there. So I think as a society, we just have to be politically mature and accept that this maneuvering is just part of elections.
Do you feel like, based on what you see on the ground so far, that this tactic is working for the PAP?
I don't know. I don't know, because I think there are a few considerations, right? One, people in Punggol would say, and it's very funny because you see something contradictory, right? On one hand, you do this, and then at the same rally where DPM gun was in the audience, MP Zainal Sapari, who is my friend, full disclosure, he did the look left, look right thing.
Right.
You remember? And then he
your
said,
friend, that one.
he's
Oh.
the PAP one, not the original
okay.
one.
Yeah.
I thought that
The PAP one.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and yeah, he's still my friend even
Oh, okay.
after he. So, and then he said something. He said that even though the Workers' Party only appears once in every 5 years, but Gan Kim Yong is also new there, right?
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a contradictory message. Even I heard Polisan or others using that against Chee Soon Juan, right? You can't, or Ong Ye Kung using that. You can't use that anymore because that is true for Gan Kim Yong, that is true for Tan See Leng, but that is true for Workers' Party as well. Harpreet also went over to a place he hasn't been working. We just have to accept that this is something that happens instead of pretending, where were you the past 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Nobody has any moral authority to use that anymore, so let's just move on.
Yeah.
Raja and I were having a debate just now, right?
Yeah.
We were
Yes.
talking about whether the strangest thing that started
Yeah.
was that, you think, a calculated bait, or you think it was just an accident?
It seemed like it was prepared, right? So it was prepared, at least. I don't know how calculated it is, but I've seen some strange prepared speeches also, like yesterday. Yesterday. So Polisan said about Dr. Chi, right? No doubt he has passion, but can he build a playground?
No
yes.
shit, really?
Yeah, and I saw, Professor, you commented on this on your Instagram as well about the toolboxes.
Yeah, I don't think, what is it in the skill set of Polisan versus Chee Soon Juan that makes one better equipped to build a playground?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And just like, and also it made me a bit sad that in elections in Singapore in 2025, we are talking about building playgrounds.
Yeah, and
As
shelter
in that's
walkways.
the issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shelter walkways, yeah. Now
That's
has been an
another
obsession of the ground. I also want to speak a little bit about the sort of identity politics we've seen going on this time around, especially when people are identifying the fight in Tampines GRC as one between Minister Masagos and the longtime WP MP, Mr. Faisal Manap, as almost being offered up as a representative for the Malay Muslim community, as an alternative rep. Do you think this is the case?
What do you mean exactly by that?
As in WP positioning Mr. Faisal as like, here we go, we are offering the voters of Tampines another version of Minister Masagos for your community, particularly the Malay Muslim community.
I don't know whether I'm comfortable with that framing, because does that mean that every time a Malay or a minority leads, then that person is defined by that? Like he is one of the three leaders of the WP as well, right? So he has been around for a long time. And if let's say it was Sylvia who went there and DPM Heng was there, you wouldn't ask me this question, right? You wouldn't ask, is this a Chinese versus Chinese contest, right? But so happened one time there's Malay versus Malay, and then you ask me that question. So I'm a bit uncomfortable with that framing. Now, having said that,
Yeah, sorry, to be clear, that framing doesn't come from us.
I know.
News,
I'm uncomfortable with the person who's doing this, not you. I know a lot of people have asked this.
Yeah.
So at the same time, you also cannot pretend like race is not an issue. Tampines has, I think, the largest proportion of Malays in a GRC, 23 to 25%. So it is not insignificant. I think that could be something that really becomes a tipping point. And I think our friend Kelvin Cheng has featured in this election since you had him on.
Yeah.
He has featured, and I think he has featured, and I think he probably will be a factor amongst Malay voters nationwide. So it's not entirely a Malay versus Malay issue, but race is still part of it. We shouldn't kid ourselves. But also it's not just Faisal versus Masagos, right? Don't forget, Masagos' team has Bayam King, who actually is pretty strong.
Yes.
I would say he's carrying the team.
You just spoke to him today.
I just
right?
spoke to him, yeah. So I would say, and I asked him how's his back. Does it hurt from carrying the team? Like,
What do you think?
Honestly,
No,
the,
he's
the
like-
only campaign thing I saw from him was on his bicycle, then he tied balloons, and then he's just cycling around, right? How to talk to people? Yeah, I also don't know. I was like,
Wow, politics 2025, right?
I know because I live in Tampines, so I know that he's very beloved on the ground.
Right.
So
And you have spoken, and right now we're talking about Tampines, and actually you were on this podcast before, and we spoke about a multi-cornered fight in Tampines. Now it's a four-cornered fight. Have you seen the rallies? How is it shaping up between all of the parties and the vote?
I don't think the other two parties are relevant. I doubt they'll get more than 2%, or even. I mean, both of them will not get back their deposits, right? If I'm wrong, I'll come back on 5th May or 6th May and apologize to all of you. I bow like Go Meng Seng bow.
And then you sing.
You have to rap at that point.
The theme of the election really is about singing. And okay, sorry to do this to you, but last time you were here, you also make some predictions. So
Oh,
we
wow.
said we won't hold it to you.
Okay, now you said nobody can hold me accountable. I remember.
So
Okay,
actually, I remember you said that Sengkang, you said you would lean Workers' Party.
Yeah.
You still stand by that one?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And the other one would be that you said the incumbent would probably lose another GRC, a new one, and you said maybe it was going to be West Coast. You still stand by that one?
I would say right now it looks like Tampines or Punggol is likelier than West Coast. I would put West Coast still in the mix.
Okay.
So Tampines, Punggol, West Coast, Bukit Panjang SMC, maybe Jalan Kayu SMC. These are the 5 ones which are most in play, I think.
And you actually feel Punggol over Tampines?
I think now Tampines over Punggol.
Okay, yeah, Tampines over. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, and
Sorry,
what,
when you say now, what made you change?
So at that time, we were not sure what the lineup was going to be. So I did say that if 2 of the 3, if Sylvia came together with Faisal, I think it's a done deal. If
Right.
Harpreet came with Faisal, I think it's a done deal. Or if Pritam went to one of them, I think it's a done deal. But I think it was Faisal versus 4 new ones, so he has to also do some heavy lifting.
Yep.
But I think it's going to be very close. Even if WP loses, I think it's going to be high 40s. But I suspect there's a good chance that they're going to take it. I mean, I don't know for sure. Yeah.
And something we haven't, honestly, we haven't really heard much about it is PSP. I think there's much of the media focus has not really been on the.
Yeah,
west
I think
side of it.
WP has taken away all the limelight. I don't know for how it affects PSP. But I can imagine they wouldn't be too pleased about this, the lack of attention. Because honestly, even if you walk the ground, you still need that media attention on what you're doing. So, yeah. So I am thinking just the 41,000. At that time, also the EBRC report wasn't out, right?
Yeah.
So the 41,000 new voters in West Coast. So assuming 70+% of them voted PAP in the last round, right? How sure are we those 70% voted for PAP versus they voted for Taman? So,
Yeah, sorry, but this, do you think it's actually, because we actually invited them onto our show and they turned down the offer, do you think it's part of their strategy rather to focus the groundwork and just leave the media to its devices?
perhaps, I think so. Whether it will pay off, I don't know.
The comment section is asking whether PSP will be on this show, and to be very honest, we invited and then they say no. So no, PSP will not be on this show.
I think one question I have for Prof. Walid is, after so many days on, or at least fourth day, right, or 5th day already on this stream, right, I've seen different candidates come on, and you've also seen many candidates. You've talked to them one-on-one on your own podcast. How has that, being able to talk to them over extended periods of time, changed the way you view opposition or even the incumbent?
I would say not at all. Like
Really?
0% change.
Wow.
0%.
Wow.
0% change because not at all, because I don't I sort of have an idea of them before I interviewed them also. So none of it really changed. So okay, the Workers' Party sent 2 new candidates to me. One is Andre Loh and the other is Sofian. And I was personally quite impressed with them just because I didn't know them. But then when I look at it, I'm impressed, but I'm not surprised, right? Because the WP candidates, the new ones, are always pretty impressive nowadays. And I had SDP's Paul Tambaya, and he's great. You all know he's great. Yeah. And PAP, just now I had Bayam King, I had Rahayu, so I had Louis, and they're all really good as well. So I don't think anything changed in terms of my perceptions towards the parties. Now, for my audience, maybe. And I hope there will be some changes. I mean, that's why I want to expose them to my audience as well.
Okay.
How about you guys? Have you guys changed?
The reason why I asked you that question actually is because I think after seeing the different parties come on, especially the opposition parties, in the past the media has always painted them as a bit crazy, a bit out there, and in a more negative light. But speaking from just my own personal opinion, I feel that there is a lot behind them that we don't see, and that's why I thought that this person is actually not as crazy as the media has portrayed them to be. And that was kind of a bit interesting for me to see that personally that the media is just a bit.
Are you referring to Dr. Chi or?
Oh, I know. I mean,
All of them actually. We had Lim Tian on. You saw?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Normal person.
Yeah,
for 40 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a
Yeah.
very interesting laughter there.
I'll do you one better. I had Goming Singh on.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, but Goming Singh, right, at least carries himself normally. It's the stuff he says. Right? But Lim Tian carry himself really well here.
Fair.
Yeah.
So I have been interviewing opposition politicians as well, PP politicians for almost 5 years now, and I follow
Okay, that makes sense.
politics closely also. So I never thought they were super crazy to begin with, other than the one or two names.
The one or
perhaps,
two
but-
names. We have a question
Okay.
from Ryan Cole. Yeah, he asked you the sudden exodus of 3G ministers just before this election. Do you think it's a strategy of the PAP and is it backfiring on them?
It is a strategy for sure, because it's about renewal as well. I think my suspicion, again, no inside information, my suspicion is Teo Chee Hean and maybe Heng Swee Keat were probably on standby also in case something happens,
Right.
in case they needed to move things around. But yeah, I think it's a
Does that happen? Between standby to run and retiring? That's
Well, Gan Kim
insane,
Yong went over, right?
but
Yeah.
moving is one thing, right? Like
No, yeah, moving is
retirement
one
and
thing.
retirement and running.
At least
is
I know
one-
what I'm going to do for the next 5 years of my
But
life.
versus, it's not like Teo Chee Hean will suddenly disappear from the public scene, right? I'm sure he will still be around somewhere, right? I don't think it's such a crazy leap. And knowing the PAP, they probably have covered all sorts of possibilities as well, which is why they were even able to make that move from Choa Chu Kang to Punggol. It's quite a distance,
Quite a travel time. We have another question from community. We'd like to just pose it to you. So actually, Jade is quite interesting, and he asked, if you had to choose one of the MPs amongst all of them who are running right now to represent you in Parliament, who would you pick and why?
So I'll choose PAP and opposition, okay?
Okay, sure.
So PAP, I'll choose Dr. Syed Harun.
Okay.
So he's running in Nisun together with Minister Shanmugam, who's doing some heavy lifting of himself.
He's also being rather quiet.
Carrying,
actually.
he has. Yeah, so he's carrying four new MPs. So Dr. Syed Harun, it's a bias. He's a good friend of mine, but also I've known him
He's
since.
also my friend.
But this one is friend. Like I hang out kind of friend. It's not just somebody I know.
Not like us like that. Like a real friend lah.
You would invite us for the Teh Tower kind of thing. Lah. Okay.
So I would have him. If opposition, I would say Faisal Manap.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, Faisal Manap. Yeah,
Interesting. Because it does feel like you're rather different people. Why is that?
Yeah, you're right. So he has a completely different temperament to me. So Faisal Manap, just now I was telling Bayam King that people say it's Faisal versus Masagos, but I think it's Faisal versus Bayam King. The two of them are carrying the team.
You told Bayam King that.
I told that on air, yeah. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so of course he said no, his humility. But yes, Faisal I think is the kind of person, very humble, very unassuming. You don't mind hanging out with, and I'm confident, even though he's not the most articulate, I know that his heart is in the right place and he will represent me. So that's ultimately what matters to me.
Okay. I have. Do we have time for one more question? I think our guests are just waiting to come in. Is it? No. I think we can do one more. I'll do one more while we're there. No worries.
Can you bring them in? Thank you very much.
Yeah, and this last one is from a community as well. It's from someone called Telegram. Sure. How do you think we can cultivate a culture of positive politics amongst politicians and their supporters going forward?
So politics is a contact sport. There will be some dirtiness and messiness. So that's part of it. But hopefully even in contact sports, there's a referee, there's rules, there's offside in football. So the problem is there is no referee to implement this, to adjudicate. Yeah. The only referee is the voters, right? So voters, I think, ultimately should reject dirty politics and then should punish dirty politics, but should embrace and reward good politics. Yeah. So ultimately, that's the way.
All right, well,
The same question from Telegram, right?
yeah.
And this one is another one for you to pick before we bring in our candidates. Which three candidates have impressed you the most with their campaigning so far?
Oh,
Don't get distracted.
Alia Mata,
Oh.
Alexis, and
Little bit
who's
distracted.
the third one who's gonna come?
I'm not giving you that one.
So one from PAP and then two
Doctor
from the
Ong.
opposition. No, I say one. Telegram asks.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, the caveat.
one from PAP.
Yeah.
And two in the opposition. Who have impressed you most with their campaigning so far?
With the campaigning.
Not new candidates, right? Can be anybody, right?
Anybody.
Okay. So I would say I think PM has done a pretty good job. I liked even his press conference the other day on foreign interference. I thought that was very statesman-like. I haven't been super impressed with many of the new. It's almost as if also, right, when the new candidates in the PAP, sometimes I feel like they feel so hamstrung, like they cannot have their own personality. So I hope
rehearsed. Is it?
so rehearsed, so fake. Yesterday, did you see?
Which one?
Hey besties, no cap. Like I couldn't. I thought that wasn't.
that.
That was too rehearsed and trying too hard. So I didn't.
I think they're
I
trying
hope-
to avoid Ivan Lim. You do something too
I
off, people
think-
start
I
thinking
think
your past.
I think that one can be better. And for the opposition, I would say, other than the Workers' Party candidates, of course, all of them have been amazing.
Yeah. I didn't know you were one to carry.
I think Arifin has been really good.
Yes.
Arifin has been really good. And Michael, I think, did very well on TV.
Michael,
From the Workers' Party. But
will be
Arifin
joining
is,
us later, and you know that lah. That's
He
why.
will. But he's not here yet. Yeah. But Arifin also, I would say, is really good.
Okay.
Okay.
I've been very impressed.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much. And I think it's time to bring our first set of guests on tonight. So thank you very much, seat warmers. You've done a great job here. That's officially what they're called. They're officially our seat warmers. Thank you so much.
So later when you all sit down and see it's nice and warm.
There you go.
All right, thanks
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Thank you for your service.
So our next guests hail from the Workers' Party. Both of them have gained tremendous attention in the campaign trail in their own ways. They're both contesting in Punggol GRC. Welcome to the show, Miss Alexis and Miss Aliyah.
Yay! Hello. Are you feeling good?
Hello. Sure.
Why you're like
I
awkward?
need to.
No, because I don't know. Like they feel like they might be awkward. Are you okay?
We're good.
Right.
They are introverts.
How's campaigning?
I am
Oh,
introverted.
you're not introvert.
Meaning she is not lah.
I'm extroverted.
Sorry, you have
but
to be very near the mic.
I'm extroverted, but I take time to warm up. So
I see. We start with something a bit simpler, right? How's the campaigning been for your
What a softball.
first time? Okay, lah, bro.
I think the campaign has been great so far. Actually, we are very surprised by the warmth and the positivity that we receive on the ground. So every day we speak to a lot of residents in Punggol, and most of them are very friendly. Sometimes they just want to understand the value that we represent, the policies that we're advocating for. So I think we are very happy to see people coming to us, asking questions, and making informed decisions about the election. Yeah.
Yeah, and also it's been a short runway, but the four of us, whatever that you see online, right? We really like that. We really feel like we're very, very close friends, and it's
Right.
great because we spend a lot of time together. We exchange ideas, we exchange feedback, and I think that's like very important
Yeah.
because you don't want to feel like you're alone,
Yeah.
right, in this journey.
But being first-time candidates, I'm sure you have certain expectations that you ask around, right? Hey, what is it gonna be like to walk the ground, right?
Yeah, it's
And-
not the
and
same.
was
lah.
it what you-
Yeah, it's not the same. They tell you before you go, go live. They're like, okay, it's gonna be like this. It's gonna be heavy. It's gonna be so much, right? It's more than just like, you can't really tell unless you're here,
Yeah.
actually going through it.
Give me an example.
Okay, when they tell you, it's gonna be a very long 9 days, then you're like, okay, very long 9 days.
Okay, I also work.
Yeah, but it is beyond a very long 9 days because you have to be thinking about how the questions are going to be asked, the policies that you have to defend,
Yeah.
and then the rallies are like an out of this world experience.
Yeah.
I think I could speak for
Yeah.
like all of us.
Yes, I don't think anything will be able, would have been able to prepare us for this 9
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
It's something that is totally out of our wildest
Expectations.
imagination. Yes. And then I think the schedule is also pretty intense. So
Yeah.
we do a lot of like outreach. We walk the grounds, and then after that, we still need to prepare for media engagement, rally speeches. So I think most of the time you basically have no time to process anything, like to think about anything or how you feel. You're just like trying to take one day at a time, and then. But I think in a way it's quite good in the sense that you become very present in the moment. So you are not like overthinking things. You are just trying to enjoy how it feels in the current moment.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alexis, actually, you've got a lot of attention this GE. I think there's a lot of people like professing their love and all that. So how does that make you feel? Does that distract from the message you're trying to bring across?
Well, I think I try to not let that affect me too much. And also, honestly, we don't have that much time to look into the online chatter.
But it's impossible to ignore, Ken.
Well, at the rally, people shouting like "Chobo," like.
I give you an example. The moment you all step in, right, the thing spiked by another 500.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it's good that people want to hear what we have to say. But I think my biggest challenge probably out of this whole thing is that as a girl, people tend to have certain expectation of you. Like, I mean, as a female, right? They expect you to talk in a certain way, dress in a certain way, behave in a certain way. And then they kind of form certain opinions about you. So I think the challenge is how do you not let these ideas about you limit who you are, how you're going to behave and carry yourself. And then also just try to bring the focus back to the message that we are trying to deliver to our audience, and also the work that we are trying to do on the ground. Yeah.
And Alia, so you just mentioned earlier we had this little bit about an introvert and all that stuff. I want to know, because as a first timer taking the stage at what is arguably the most attended rallies, how does that feel?
It is the most attended.
It is, yeah. Well, easily, right? How does it feel going up there in front of that many people?
Surreal. It actually feels surreal. But at the same time, it also feels great that I'm sitting there and being a part of this team. I like literally look around and go, wow. The speeches are really, I think that it's reflecting a lot of what we hear on the ground. And it's great because people need a voice. Yeah. So aside from the fact that I am an introvert, but just having had the experience of like listening to everybody's point of view and seeing my friends on the ground, it's great.
Yeah. And do you feel like the tide is changing a bit in the way that people last time used to be worried about being photographed with opposition? Actually, now it feels like as if they don't want to be photographed with incumbent instead.
I'm not sure about that. I think people definitely are more open-minded. So, for example, my own older sister is PAP supporter as well. And then I think...
until now, right? It has to be
until now,
right?
Kind of.
This time she won't vote.
But because I'm kind of like participating in the election myself, right? So I think she's a bit more open-minded, and she does listen to what we have to say, and then she also came for the rallies, which is quite a surprise for me. But yeah, I think we are not in the same generation anymore. We are also dealing with a lot of younger people who want to make informed decision when they cast their vote. So we welcome that curiosity, right? I think it's very important.
Alexis, sorry. Just now you mentioned that the reception on the ground has been good. So if non-PC answer, please, what are your chances now, you think? Like, just based on what people have been telling you.
I think, even though the response we received so far has been like pretty overwhelming, but you also have to remember that usually the people who come over to you and say hi are already like supporters, right? So it's not really a true reflection of everyone's sentiment. So there is also a large group of silent majority that could be actually still on the fence about who they want to support. So I think we are cautious to not be overconfident about the result. And I think we probably guess that it's going to be a very tight race. So I mean, we could swing either way. Sorry.
Even looking at the rallies, right, and you see so many people, that doesn't necessarily translate to votes. So
but
we can't tell.
It is so many people.
You're
completely jammed up on goal.
I know.
I was there at the Tampines rally, and just after Faisal was introduced, he was the second last guest of the night.
I was there also. Oh my God, we were in the same place.
Oh yeah. So, and the reception towards Faisal, I've never seen that reception towards him. And I thought, man, something's happening, but maybe, I mean, who knows? Because a lot of them are not even Tampines residents.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
so that's-
Even when we were like standing and greeting people, a lot of people actually come out to say, we have our support, and then we're like, okay, so where are you from? And they're like, Hougang.
Or Sengkang, yeah.
Yeah, Sengkang. So, I mean, we're hoping that the Punggol residents are ready for change. But we can't we can't
Yeah.
actually make,
And we are not taking this lightly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
we're
not.
taking this very seriously right
You
now.
guys walk the ground, right? As in, so far I see on social media only lah that so far the reception for your party has been like quite supportive. Have you ever like, let's say on your walkabout, meet someone who like is very opposed to
Kena
you?
Gan Kim Yong.
Yeah, because I
Definitely,
haven't
yeah.
seen that on
No, they don't
social
pose.
media. Oh,
Yeah.
other
Only Gan
people
Kim Yong
post.
poses that.
Yeah.
I think Alia has one
I
encounter
just
today,
had
right?
actually
Yeah.
This morning.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah, so I was having like greeting the residents, and this lady came up to me and said like, "Why are you guys doing this? The PAP has done so much for us. Why are you doing this rara? And why are you taking up our reserves for the children?" And so that this maybe these people are not really going to get convinced. I'm not going to have time just standing there convincing you, right? So I told her that, we're trying to make a voice for everybody. And she said, I also have needs, So I'm like, okay, it's a bit difficult because I don't know. I mean, everybody
that
will
mean?
have
I
needs,
also have
right?
needs means what?
I think she means that you cannot just be talking about some groups.
Ah.
Yeah.
And so I said, we try the best we can to put proposal. I mean, in terms of analogy, I don't know whether it's a good analogy or not, but you may have food. It's not great food, but you have food. And then you have a bunch of people who do not have food. So we work towards the ones who do not. The ones who actually need their voices heard, need policies put in place to make life easier for them. And then when everybody reaches a certain point, then we can work towards pushing everybody up together.
Yeah.
But we haven't reached that point yet.
That
Right.
stage, yeah. So I want to get into policy differences. And Alexis, actually, in your introductory video, a couple of times you mentioned that you don't want the government to have a blank check.
Yeah.
Would you maybe be able to share with us a moment where you felt like the government made a decision that wasn't in the best interest of Singapore?
Like, what was that moment that gave you that blank check?
Well, the initial moment was when they changed the constitution for the reserve presidential election. But I think subsequently there were also a lot of decisions that were, I guess, questionable in our opinion. For example, going ahead with the GST hike, in the midst of very bad inflation for the country. So just today when I was taking taxi, the uncle was really just like complaining and saying how they are having a very hard time and everything is just so expensive now, right? So you hear a lot of these sentiments on the ground. It's not just like one or two cases, right? It's across the board. A lot of people are complaining about the high prices in Singapore, and given that we had a better than expected budget surplus, why couldn't we have waited a bit more to increase the GST? So I think having a strong opposition in the parliament will be able to give the government some pressure to prioritize the needs of the people. Yeah.
And speaking of GST, now you mentioned it, it's actually also in your manifesto. And Alia, maybe you can speak on this. You spoke of an exemption of GST for essential goods.
Yep.
So how would that work out? Because every item, as I understand, has a supply chain attached to it. There's multiple markups, shipping, packaging, etc. How are we going to handle this?
GST is only placed on the end price. So you have supply chains, right? And then at the end of it, you have a product. The GST is placed on the product. So, you won't have GST placed along the line all the way up. We're talking about removing the GST. Yes, yes, I understand it. So
Actually, I don't understand the question. Like,
Sorry, actually, the question came from me because I was just I was trying to figure out how do we remove GST from essential goods, which is a great idea. But for example, if I sold, let's say egg, let's say I have a chicken farm, okay? So so the chicken feed that I buy for my chicken to eat, I pay GST, then after that I need to pay for the packaging of the box.
but is that an essential item? So we're saying
Because I'm
It's
making
not
eggs,
essential.
yeah, but it's not, your box is not an essential item.
Okay, so
yeah. So we're saying only essential items.
Like rice.
Rice, oil, whatever
Oil.
that
so
people
not
need
egg
to-
doesn't count.
No, egg also lah.
Okay, so
but
I'm
you're
calling egg,
talking
so
about
I'm a
box,
producer of
right?
egg.
Yeah.
As in, I need to buy in a carton box to put in the
Okay.
supermarket, right?
Okay.
So for me to make a carton of eggs, right,
right.
there is
So you're
cost
saying
that
the
I will pay.
margin of profit will be lower.
I will pay
lah
for the GST of that and don't charge
Right,
the GST of that, meaning I won't be able to recover the GST of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
How would
Sorry, come again.
Never mind.
No, because
So along the way, you are saying, right? So,
Correct. Because how it works is that as a business, right? Like let's say if I buy this mic, I will pay for the GST
Yeah.
of this mic.
Yeah.
But when clients come and buy an episode of this,
Yeah.
I charge them the GST, right? I can claim back. I can offset the GST I paid for this microphone.
Yeah, but we're only talking about I mean, the economics of it, I wouldn't go into the details.
Right.
Disclaimer: I'm a lawyer, lah, not in economics.
Okay. I'll go move on.
No, but let's just to give you an idea. It's not like it's the first time that GST is exempted, lah. There has been an exemption for like precious metals and digital
see.
tokens. It's not the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No.
yeah. So yeah. Right?
Like
so,
gold, etc.
Yeah, gold and
silver, I
so it's not something that's new. It's just a matter of whether we want to do it for essential items so that we can stretch $1 for the low and middle income, workers in Singapore, lah. Yeah.
And speaking of the stretching of the dollar, the Workers' Party has called for a minimum wage, and the PAP have maintained that implementing a universal minimum wage will stagnate wages, job cuts, higher cost of living. Do you agree with this outlook?
I think first of all, there are some international studies that say that a modest minimum wage will not affect employment by too much. And we are not asking for like a high amount, right? And currently, within the government itself, there's already the qualifying salary for certain industry and roles that's at like $1,600. So that's already applied to like 9 out of 10 jobs, right? So why can't we just apply this to all jobs to make sure that all our Singaporean workers have a decent amount of wage to cover some of their expenses. On top of that, the progressive wage model, the PWM, it will be rolled out in phases, so it's going to take time.
Right.
And also on top of that, it's covering certain sectors only, so there will still be people who fall through the cracks. And then lastly, even with some additional subsidies that the government provide, together with the PWM, it may not be sufficient to provide our Singaporean workers like a decent amount of income to support them in their day-to-day expenses. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Aliyah, actually, we have a community question here from Pixarated. So this is regarding your advocacy for Palestine in the Israel-Palestine issue.
Okay, I think you need to rephrase that because I don't think at any point I said advocacy for Palestine.
Sorry, I was reading the community's direct.
This is their question.
Okay.
Yeah, I directly read from
Yeah.
them. So they phrase it, how would you respond to those who feel it's a religious or community-specific issue rather than one relevant to Singapore as a whole?
So I think I've said it already. It cuts across ethnic and religious boundaries. But my issue is not that. My issue was the MOE bringing it up, something that is so sensitive, and bringing it up and teaching it to our children. And I think that we as parents, we were just very shocked because it's such a sensitive topic, right? It's not just me. I think a lot of parents had the same thing, and educators also actually came out to say that how come is this being taught? Because it's being taught at like primary 5, primary 6.
Right.
You don't even know whether they are able to, process it. And it's just like sexuality education or any other, sensitive topic lah. It's outside of, the general syllabus for schools. So I think it would have been only fair for the MOE to at least inform us beforehand. Maybe then we can prep our kids, like, this is what's going to happen, or get our consent the way they do for sexuality education. That was my issue, and that is something that I felt very strongly about because of my role as a mother, and a lot of other parents were saying the same thing, right? So it's not the topic, not the substance of the topic itself.
Yeah.
It's the fact that it's such a sensitive topic and it's being taught to our children. And we weren't informed beforehand, and we weren't asked to give consent. So I think that MOE and parents should be able to have like open conversations. There's mutual trust. I mean, we're all we're all working towards bringing our children to be well-rounded, citizens and all that. That was my issue, lah.
So if I could as well. So Singapore has a position on it, right? So when the Prime Minister says it, people don't say that, this is a Muslim issue. When Minister Shanmugam talks about it, people don't say that this is. When Gerald Giam actually was the one who talked about it at the presser. But when Alia talks about it, it becomes a Muslim issue.
Yeah.
what is the difference between Alia and the other
Yeah.
three? Right? So I don't think it's her bringing up. And by the way, as what she can bring up whatever issue she wants. It's just that somehow when she brought it up, it was framed as a community issue. I thought that the comments about it were really unfair. Even your rally speech, you were using it as an entry point into more spaces, right, for discussion.
Yeah.
I thought the way that people mischaracterize it was just unfortunate. Speaks to, I think, also the difficulties that women candidates have,
Yes.
minority women candidates have.
Yes.
They're always under so much more scrutiny. But it's okay, we have 2 Chinese men after this.
And I think, and I think this experience also highlights the importance of having alternative voice in the parliament, because when Alia's concerns couldn't be addressed by her own MP, she could come to like a opposition MP who was not acting under the whip of PAP, and then the MP was able to speak up for her, raise a concern in parliament, and I think that's why we are advocating for diversity in terms of views that we are like sharing within the parliamentary space.
We really need to have someone that will voice out our concerns. And I feel like the opposition MPs, of the previous term, they were doing that. That's why I think for the two of us, we actually felt okay when we were asked, we were like, okay, we need to do this. It's not easy. I guarantee you, Alexis and I, it's not an easy thing to also face public scrutiny.
Yeah.
But I think we feel like this needs to be done. Yeah.
I mean, for what it's worth, I think the both of you are doing very, very well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We hope so.
Is that an endorsement from the Daily Ketchup or no?
Yeah.
So on that, I think one of the things my personal circle, right, and someone called hot pot tofu.
Hot pot tofu.
Yeah.
Hot pot tofu.
Hot pot tofu, and this is adjacent to the topic. I'm sorry to dwell here, and I think answering this question might help with the voting base there, especially on the video where you did your rally speech, right? A lot of people ask, how are you going to represent the Malay community while not bringing race into politics? First of all, is this possible?
The Malay Muslim community,
Yeah.
you mean? I mean, I am a voice. I want to be a voice for all Singaporeans.
Yeah.
Right. And while there are issues that will be specific to the Malay Muslim community, like the Tudung issue, which I will remind you guys that our Faisal Manap brought up,
Right.
there will be a lot of issues that I think will be at the national level as well. So I would urge people not to just think of me as, I am going to represent only Malay Muslim issues. I will try my best. But I would urge them to remember that my role is, if I were to get elected in, is to represent the national level issues.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I would just like to highlight that Alia is also a very strong candidate in the sense that she's got very good private sector experience. She worked in the legal sector, and then now she's working for like a financial institution. So I think all these skill sets are very relevant in, helping our constituents in the future to look into certain issue that they are concerned about.
Yeah. I mean, there are some issues that we will feel more strongly about than others. Right, but me being from the sandwich generation, the issues that are more for, where it affects children, where it affects our aged senior citizens, those really call out to me. So those are things that I will champion very closely.
And also,
Oh,
by
yeah,
the
sorry,
way,
Prof. Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead, don't worry.
just the issue of the GRC itself, the minorities are there to represent the minority communities.
Yep.
So if you don't want to have that, then I think you have to abolish the GRC. Although in Alia's case it's different because she is not contesting the Malay GRC.
Yeah.
She's actually not obliged to
Yeah.
represent.
Yeah.
But Faisal is, I think, if he gets elected, or whoever in the Malay GRCs, they are
Yep.
obliged to represent the Malay community. But then, of course, then there's a balance between community and national interest. And that's why it's always hardest to be minority MPs, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you feel that Minister Masagos has a very difficult time trying to balance that?
Maybe. I think he can do a better job at balancing for sure. I think the Minister of Muslim Affairs is not an easy position. Yeah, but I think that I can name a few things. That if we have time, how much time do we have? Yeah, but okay. So let's just say that.
We should immediately start naming
Okay. But we can go to that.
Well, I'd like to give you guys a chance, but this is a hypothetical. So let's imagine that you're able to pass a policy now. Any policy, there's no objection, approval straight away. What is this
Wow.
policy that you pick? And
Approval straight away.
straight away.
That's against democracy.
It's a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to go?
I think I will like to pass a policy where we can reduce the class sizes. Right now, I think the average class size in Singapore is about 35 or at least 33. But in the OECD nations, the average is about 21. So I think what the Workers' Party is advocating for is about 30. Why is this important? Because, like these days, right, in order for you to be competitive in school, a lot of our students rely on tuition. And the reason why tuition is important is because, the big class sizes that we have right now, each teacher can only allocate a certain amount to each student, right? So your lower income family kids get disadvantaged in the process because when they are not absorbing all the curriculum that they are supposed to absorb, and then when they go home, they don't have like this additional tuition to help them. They become slower maybe in their learning. So I think it's important that we have smaller class sizes so that each teacher can allocate more time to each student. And then the students become less reliant on this additional help from outside of the class hours.
Right.
Yeah. Then we can bridge the gap between, students coming from a more privileged background and student coming from a more underprivileged background.
Right. Yeah. Do you think then the parents won't stop being so kiasu? Because I feel, right? I mean, a part of it is driven by this parent kiasu concept, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think nowadays it's also, we have limited workforce, right? And most families are dual income family these days. Yeah. And when your teacher is handling like 30 over students, they also pass on a lot of the schoolwork to the parents to, help to teach the kids after school hours. And the parents may not have the time to do all that, right? So I think reducing class sizes is also beneficial for the parents. It's less stressful on them. And they need to, they can count on the schools to educate their children better. So I think overall it's a win-win situation for both the students and the parents.
But then the teachers, how not enough.
A lot of the teachers who actually leave the industry, and you can ask around, but what I understand is when they leave the industry, they go into the tuition industry.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So there's a reason why they go into the tuition industry because
hours are shorter, the pay is better.
Yes. Yeah. And exactly that's what we need. If we need more teachers, then if we are providing a better environment for the teachers, then the whole tuition system will. I'm sorry for tutors out there who may not agree with me, but I think the whole tuition system will not be necessary anymore. And then it's fairer for people, for students from lower income families as well.
Yeah. And also I think the reason why a lot of our teachers suffer a burnout is because in school they are not just focused on teaching the kids, right? They need to take on like ECAs, like activities, events, things like that. And there's a lot of admin work on top of that. So if our government can look into providing better support for the teachers, so just take away all this additional workload from the teachers and just get them to focus on educating the kids, then maybe the teachers will have a better time. We will be able to recruit more teachers.
Job creation.
Job creation. And then they can really focus on our children and not all this additional admin, which could have been done by someone else.
Yeah.
Ali, what about you? What were your
Can I
push
name
through policy
two?
be?
Okay,
Okay. It's hypothetical time, but
I mean, we talked about the exemption of the GST. So I think for a lot of people, it would be very much appreciated. But just because of my personal background and from the feedback that I'm getting, I think a lot of people want to abolish the Medisave cap for chronic conditions. A lot.
Correct.
You see like long lines and everybody's so, upset at the fact that the money's inside the Medisave. And there's like a $500 or $700 cap now. So like, for instance, if you have diabetes, hypertension, whatever, and like a whole list, right? Your $500 is not going to cover.
Yeah.
It's really not going to cover. And then you start digging into your next of kin's Medisave, which is allowed. But then what about my children? If my parent needs to use mine, right? And if that is not enough, then cash outlay.
Right.
So that one I think is, at the end of the day, the Medisave is meant for medical conditions in our old age. And we're not saying like, for everything. We're saying for chronic conditions. It will really be helpful.
Right.
That
then
one,
the follow-up question would be then what if they exhaust their Medisave like 2 years in, right?
If you look at the Medisave that we are actually accumulating over the years, I can't speak for the numbers yet. But I do think that we can go beyond just looking at like a $500, $700 cap lah. The cap can
Increase
be
lah, I
yeah.
see.
We can remove the cap, or if you think that that's not going to be workable, at least increase the cap, just so that we can help the people who are just struggling lah.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to pay cash. Nobody wants to be sick, and if you start to tap onto the sandwich generation, the ones in between, right, we're going to have a problem because we have our own our generation will have our own medical issues. Our children will also need to be covered. So imagine having to cover yourself, your parent, your child. It's tough lah.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm very mindful of the fact that you've taken the time to be here. I have one more question for both of you, and this is something that we've heard like quite a bit from people who claim they are Punggol voters. They do wish for more checks and balance in Parliament, but they've also mentioned that they don't want to lose DPN Gan in his service. Do you have a message for this group of voters?
Yeah, I think we definitely recognize the contribution that DPM Gan has, done for Singaporean, have provided to Singaporean all these years. We are appreciative of that, but I think the election is also not just about personalities. It's about the bigger cause, which is to provide more balanced politics or parliament in Singapore, where we are able to bring different voices to the discussion, and we are also trying to create more accountability from the government, so that when they pass certain bills or policies, it's actually a well thought through one. Even a good policy can be refined through healthy discourse and debate in the parliament.
Yeah. Plus, I think there's a lot of good ministers lah online. So not online. Sorry, on board.
Online also.
Yeah, on board. They're good. They'll be able to do whatever that I think that
they have 90% of the seats in the parliament. Even if all the opposition win today, I think it's still not even 1/3.
No lah, if all of Workers' Party win.
All
lah.
Workers' Party. Yeah.
All of opposition, you'll take over everything.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No lah,
Opposition.
opposition. Yeah.
Sorry, yes, Workers' Party.
Yeah.
Oh, so
but
that means they consider themselves the only opposition.
No.
This is the problem with live shows, are really.
No,
Michael
sorry.
defend us
We
again.
are the Workers' Party opposition. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So
Also just the
yes,
premise
bro.
of that question also, right? I find that if like our entire country like crumbles with one minister, I would be worried about. Actually, I'm worried about the country, not about that
Correct.
one person losing.
Yeah.
Right?
Hence my point that I think there's a lot of other people that are already, they've got the caliber. Let's not just focus on one personality. We do appreciate what he's done. And he's very nice. We actually have met him on our walkabouts. We've actually shook hands with the whole
Shook
team
hands with
actually.
him. Yeah.
He's very nice. But what we would want to tell the Punggol voters is try not to focus on just personalities. And rest assured I think he will be provided for. Yeah.
I feel like you have a question. Okay. Don't lie, it's
that was
live
a
lah.
good
Okay,
one.
let's not do that.
I mean, it is a difficult choice, no doubt.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, I think it will benefit more Singaporeans if we have more accountability, greater representation in the parliament for all of us.
Yep.
So before we let you go, right, we have one final question. It's a running gag on this live stream series. I know it's a bit weird because you're making way for your teammates to come.
Right.
But you want to leave a question behind for Michael and Lui Ping.
Okay, this is for Michael.
Just go ahead and put them on the spot lah.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about the the attention that you've been getting on your Blue Skies quote?
Oh yeah. I have a question on that.
Okay, if not, thank you very much.
Sorry, can I ask just
yes, bro.
one? So if Pritam had to choose between Tampines and Punggol, just one.
Yeah. Ask
Which one do
Pritam
you
lah.
Which one do you
Ask
think? Dave?
Pritam lah, she asked already lah.
I'm sorry, we
Punggol
can't
or
answer. We
Tampines,
can't answer
which
for
one?
Pritam. I think. Yeah.
So safe.
You tried to their trust by defending them one time, and then you wait.
I mean, if you ask who would Alia choose, then maybe I can answer
Yeah,
lah.
you'll choose
Yeah.
Punggol, right?
We will
Of course,
sacrifice
yeah.
Tampines for Punggol
Oh, sorry.
anytime. Yeah.
You can choose Tampines lah.
Very strong protest going on off screen.
Yeah, I got last
Alison. Okay,
last
okay.
one.
I feel like I know what you're gonna.
It's the best question.
Oh no.
What's your MBTI?
Oh my God. Okay, bye bye.
Mine is
Trigger you only actually.
mine is actually ISTJ.
Don't
Oh my god, did I guess?
Don't entertain her.
Yeah, don't encourage her. That's what we tell her.
You lie on her.
I feel like you know it all the
quiet.
But it's true, like there's always about 20, 30 people asking what's that.
Oh, yeah.
ISTJ.
Mine is ESTP.
I knew it.
Yeah, of course you did. Of course
So what
you
do we
did.
do with this piece of information? I also don't know.
I have a question. What's your zodiac? No,
Okay.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you,
for having
thank
us.
you so much.
Yeah.
All the best.
All right.
Hey, well done, well done.
So if you caught CNA's Singapore Voices Roundtable, you would have seen Workers' Party fresh face Michael Thung as the heartthrob that held his own. He's been contributing to the efforts of the Workers' Party for over 15 years. Also, we have Dr. Ong Liu Ping, who is a senior principal clinical psychologist at the Institute of Mental Health. He's been involved with the Workers' Party since 2023. They're both first-time candidates contesting in Tampines GRC. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Hello, welcome. You gotta be very close
Okay,
to the
okay,
mic, like 3 centimeters.
I'll try my best. I'll try my best. Cannot kiss, right?
You can lick it lah. How has the campaign trail been for the both of you as first-time candidates?
It's been tiring. It's been exhilarating.
Was it what you expected?
Rewarding, tiring. I mean, I've had the opportunity to be somewhat involved and helpful to some of the other previous campaigns with Ru and some of the other MPs. So I've, in a sense, seen what it's like, but I think it doesn't compare to doing it yourself and actually pulling in the full 7 to 10 p.m. days and then going home and having to like figure out your speeches for the next day. Like that's,
Right.
I think I never really understood fully till I've actually been in the thick of it.
Right. Yourself?
Okay, same, tiring, but very energizing as well because the resident of Tampines has been really warm towards us.
Yeah.
So it has been very encouraging. I mean, people have come up to us and then shake our hands and say, "Oh, you guys are finally here."
Yeah.
So we felt very welcome in Tampines. I mean, I don't really go Tampines that much.
Hey, why would you say that?
Why didn't you go to
Must be honest.
Honestly.
Okay, but I really feel like a family with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're so warm.
Yeah.
And they really accept us as part of it.
Yeah.
So I felt like really
Accepted.
this is the place that I want to be.
how blue is the sky now over there? What are the
One
chances?
fun fact.
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
Tampines was the place where I had my first date in JC.
Wow.
Why? But why?
Yeah, why? Do you don't need?
Now we play
Because
romance
they-
politics.
Which was the restaurant?
Why?
New dimension.
Got new
girl
print
stays
machine.
in Tampines.
No, it's true. Tampines is the dating place to be. It is the Ion.
No, I
of the
understand,
East.
but why? Did
That
you
was-
date somebody from Tampines JC or something?
No, okay, so I was from Temasek JC.
okay.
So it was fairly nearby.
Oh, so you're an
JC.
East
I
also.
didn't even know
Yeah.
that.
So, Michael, most of the country saw you on the round table. How does one actually get selected to represent like Workers' Party on national TV? You volunteered or someone arrow you?
Obviously, no.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think so. I don't think
yeah.
most
We
people
had
will
our doubts,
volunteer
you know.
and say, "I knew I will represent the party."
Yeah, and then have the entire fate rest on me.
sure.
I think I was basically told that was probably the right decision that the party wanted to make, and
Right.
I accepted it, I guess.
Yeah,
There- there-
immediately, yeah, like
There,
yes, sir, I
there,
will.
there wasn't that much of a story around this actually.
Oh, okay.
I think I was kind of nudged that I might be chosen for this, and then it was kind of told to me a couple days before nomination day, and then
You didn't sign.
and then I've just had to think about what I would do if that happens.
Yeah.
But you did very well. Sorry.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
No, is it true you're in a debate club last time?
Yeah,
That's
so
why you're so confident. When
I don't know if that's a reason, but I but I did spend a good amount of my school time in the debate club and doing that.
you're
Yeah.
such a natural.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And I must
you.
say, I'm really proud of him because a
Yeah, I was
lot
gonna
of,
ask how you rate your performance.
I was rated as 5-star.
Wow.
Not just from me, but a lot of my friends in the different group chats, right? They were saying like, "Wow, the star speaker," and a lot of residents actually came up to him while we were at Tampines to congratulate him, to tell him that he really did well.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm super proud of him.
Very important. So actually, a lot of people who watched the roundtable had kind of hoped to see your reply to the 8-minute closing statement by the PDP.
I do want to say that this live stream it will be saved, so you can still watch it tomorrow. You can go and watch the roundtable if you have not, and then come back to listen to this part again.
Come back to this exact
Yeah,
moment.
sure.
So if the format had actually allowed you to respond, right?
Yeah.
What would your response have been? And your time, 2 minutes, it starts now.
I mean, I don't
sorry.
even get 8 minutes.
no.
Yeah, I want to say the format is so disappointing. Like there's no debate and then there's 4 minutes, and I thought when James shot into superstardom, right? That format I thought would have been better, but maybe because James shot into superstardom, that's why they didn't have.
Do you guys concur with Professor? Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious. Do you think the format was a great one?
John, I prefer the old one. Honestly,
watch it.
I'll be very honest.
I
I
watched the
prefer the
highlight.
old one.
What?
Yeah.
I prefer the
you
old
were
one. Yeah.
filming
You didn't-
this.
We were here on stream.
You didn't prep for this.
Yeah, no, that's why I watched the highlight.
I mean, what I think was quite funny actually was that given the context and given the way the format was, right, we were given a quarter of the time that the PAP was given, 1 minute to the 4 minutes, 2 minutes to the 8 minutes. Within that context, the minister made the argument that we should judge all parties by the same standard.
Yeah.
And I think for someone watching and looking at that, it's just the best illustration of what might be wrong with the system.
Right.
Right? And when I talk about gaslighting in my speech on Saturday, I think that's kind of what it is, right? It's kind of like, yeah, I understand conceptually we want to have a fair system where everyone is judged by the same standards, but there's also something fundamentally imbalanced about the way the system is that might make us have to make different decisions this time around to make it a little bit more even going forward.
Would you say you have preferred it to be a debate format?
I would have
As a
preferred it to
first-time
be
candidate,
I would prefer it to be a conversation.
Right.
Right? Where we could actually have a discussion around issues and talk about things. Doesn't need to be a debate per se, but like it needs to actually have some kind of back and forth, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So what would your reply have been?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can go into. He did make some points around positions that we've taken in the past, but I think what undergirded his entire position was that we need to keep the PAP where they are because they got us to this place. We want to keep Singapore exceptional, I think was his quote, if I'm not wrong. I mean, what I would have said, I think, is that we shouldn't mix up keeping Singapore exceptional with keeping Singapore the same. And I think ultimately, the entire environment around us is different. That's the entire premise of their campaign, right? There's so much uncertainty. There's so much new challenge. We as a nation are so different because we are more diverse. We have more opinions. We cannot possibly think the same process and the same system will get us the same exceptionalism going forward. And so that's why, like, to me, we need to think about a different way of approaching it. So we have a stronger system that can deal with the problems as they arise. And, they say it's uncertainty, therefore we need to vote for them. I say it's uncertainty, therefore we need to vote for us.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you very much. I didn't have to
Wow, that's
turn
shorter
the mic
than
off and
I was timing,
Yeah, very
right?
good.
It was shorter at 1 minute.
Wow, there you go.
I also told them to keep it under.
We had a timer and everything.
I have, yeah. As in, that was a serious question. How blue is the sky now in Tampines? What is your sense? You've walked around. I'm a Tampines resident, by the way, so I have a dog in this fight. So, what is your sense?
I mean, you're probably the best pulse check for us, right? What is
You
your
asked him
sense?
just now already. He also,
I think it's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's enough to go over the line, but it's.
I mean, what I'll say is, the residents have been incredibly warm, right? Like the most common refrain I say all the time is, "You've taken so long to come here. We're annoyed with that, but we're so happy you're here," right? But I also take a pause because when I, for example, was helping Ru out with her 2015 campaign in Marine Parade, right? With the same very positive response, everyone was saying, "Fantastic, vote Workers' Party," and we know how 2015 went. So I think I always remind myself that we are seeing a sliver of the Tampines population. And as promising as it might seem from what we see, there's a lot of folks that may tell us different things from what they actually vote or not even meet us, right? And so I think we don't have the full picture till polling day, and that's what we're going to rely on.
I was there at the Tampines rally, right? And to be very honest, it was the hype was quite electric.
Yeah.
But honestly, I was very irritated the whole time.
Why?
Because the fans were so passionate. I cannot hear the speaker speak. I think I was at a weird spot. We moved front, back, left, right. It was not very loud where I stood. So then there was this dude behind that. He's supportive. He's not heckling y'all. Yeah, he was like,
He's heckling other people.
But he's so loud, we cannot hear anything.
That wasn't me, by the way.
No. I look back, I knew it wasn't you. I made sure who it was. But anyway, Dr. Ong, actually in your introductory video, you mentioned that one of the greatest challenges facing Singapore today is the rising stress levels.
Yep.
And there's a need to address structural stresses,
Yep.
especially when it comes to education.
Sure.
How do we address this? Because it also does feel like parents have a big part to play in these stress levels.
Yep. Okay, so I was mentioning this in another podcast, right? That I mean that
Why you never save your Virgin podcast for this?
yeah. So okay, I mean I'm a parent myself. And as I spoke with a lot of parents, right? Most of them actually only wanted their child to do well in life, be independent, be able to afford a living and things like that. And I would say that the system would cause the parents to behave in such a way. So if your HDB prices is going to be like 600,000-700,000 or even $1 million 10, 20 years later, obviously as a parent, I want my child to do well so that at least you can afford housing and things like that. So from that perspective, I don't really blame the parents. I have a lot of parents who tells me that actually I really just want my child to be happy, right? But
You think those parents have given up on successful, and they've fallen to happy can already?
oh no, so they say they wanted a child to be happy, but they can't because the current system is built in such a way that if they don't work hard now, their lifestyle will likely be compromised in the future, and whether they can be truly happy at that point in time. We wouldn't know. I mean, the research suggests that money is important for happiness, but only till a certain level.
Yeah.
Right?
7,000 by the way. That was
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. The one that I know is at least 200,000 a year. After that, the happiness
Tapers
plateau
off.
No wonder I'm not happy.
And that's a lot of money, right? And so you do need a certain amount of money to be happy and to have fulfilling life and so forth. So I think that's the main crux of why the parents are feeling the pressure for their child to do well, and of course then the pressure gets to the child. Right? And then of course our educational system, as you know, can be quite pressurizing. Right? So that's why the Workers' Party, we're actually advocating.
You're so excited.
This is really a topic I'm really passionate about. So when I was meeting with the residents, right, and I see little kids, I was really telling that hopefully, right, when you grow up, you don't have to take the PSLE, right, and you'll thank uncle for it. I hope so, right? So we're actually proposing for an optional 10-year true train program where students can progress from primary school to secondary school without taking the PSLE, like most international school does.
But there'll be an exam of sorts just...
Yeah. So that again goes back to what Alexis is talking about, reducing the class size, right? So if you reduce the class size, the teacher can pay more attention to individual students, and you can do continuous assessment, and you can have very accurate picture of the abilities of the child, and you can still provide that help accordingly, and perhaps even put them in a certain class that can actually give them a bit more help and so forth.
Meaning instead of a national level wide exam, we have basically teachers qualitatively.
I mean, there will always
the
be continuous assessment and so forth, right? So the teacher, if you really know a student well, you'll know that, okay, this child can actually do well in this subject. Perhaps we can push the child more in this. This child needs a bit more help in this subject. And
I feel like Singapore have been abolishing exams left and right, but at the end of the day, it's just a test with a different name.
As long as you don't remove PSLE, right? I don't think that step to remove exams will really help them much.
I wanted to ask precisely what John said as well. So we have removed exams for primary 1, primary 2, but the parents are very stressed about that. And then they send their children to centers to give them tests. Right? So,
no, really?
Yes.
The heck?
Yes, absolutely. I don't want to say my wife is one of them.
It stresses everybody out.
So, do you think because we are so successful, even the PAP tries to roll back because they have been so successful in this, that they cannot roll it back because the mindsets have been changed already? So even if we change that, abolish the PSLE, people will send their children for other exams just because it's so ingrained in us already.
Okay, so what we know from psychological research, right, is the systemic factors does play a big role in influencing human behavior and thinking, right? So at the end of the day, if the structure is built in such a way that it actually encourages more creative thinking, more joyful learning, and so forth, the parents' mindset will also eventually change, right? So that's why I mentioned a few times that's why I want to step out on my clinic to go into parliament, so that we can really address these structural factors that really affects the mental health and well-being of our young people.
Just to clarify, you didn't have to resign.
No, I don't have to resign. I just have to step down from my senior management role and become a full clinician. So I'll just be seeing patients.
I understood. Okay. Well, speaking of policy, actually, our community has been sending a lot of questions through. I want to ask one from our commenter. This is from Hans J. Workers' Party is proposing a wealth tax. Can you elaborate on how this tax would work? How would assets be valued? And how about stock holdings? Even if you don't sell them, how do they get valued?
Yeah, so I think there are many countries in the world that have applied it, and I think instead of going through the details here, because I think it's a very technical, it's a very technical exercise, obviously, right? But I think the larger question here is whether there are alternative ways to what the government has done so far. Right? I think that's where kind of this conversation starts from, right? Which is that there was a decision made a number of years ago to increase the GST from 7 to 9%.
Yeah.
And I think the position that we had then, and still is the position now, is that it was probably the wrong thing to do at the wrong time, particularly because it was coming out of a record high 6% inflation. Right? And Singapore inflation typically is under 2%. And we had 6% coming out of COVID, and then to kind of decide that this was the tool they wanted to use in the moment, truly did make things a lot harder for a lot of Singaporeans. And as we walk around and talk to folks, like that is the recurring feedback, right? Even the year previous to the election, when we were talking to various residents around Tampines, like that was the almost 90% of the time that was the most common complaint, right? Which was everything that they have to pay for is going up. And I think choosing different options, whether it be the raw tax, whether it be using the NIRC, whether it be increasing the corporate tax rate, and all these would have been able to account for that without having the same kind of regressive impact that the GST increase would have had.
I would like to ask, since you are like both of you are pretty much one step outside of Parliament at this point, right? So it's still one bus and a half for now.
Sure.
Even if we get into Parliament,
That's the right answer, man. No.
So knows how to play it.
I mean, okay, so if you go into Parliament, right, at some point, government, maybe whatever happens, government at some point may need to decide they need to increase government revenue.
Sure.
Right? So that come in the form of whatever various taxes, blah, blah, blah. From what I see outside of Parliament, it always just feels like when the government needs to make this kind of very unpopular things, right, then opposition will just vote against it.
Sure.
Right? How would you assure Singaporeans, right, or your voters that you are not opposing for the sake of opposing? Because it's very difficult to say now is not the right time to raise GST.
Sure.
When is the next crisis? Do you know? We don't know. Then how? Yeah.
I think the track record of the party has demonstrated that, right? I don't think we have sat in Parliament and been obstructionist in the way that you might have seen in other countries. I think that is the best testament to the fact that we take a clear eye when we kind of look at policies that are being put forward, and we try to assess it for what impact it would have for the Singapore people, and then make a decision. But to go to GST for a second, right? Like I think there is a legitimate discussion around, even if you disagree with the timing, was it even the right structure through which you did it? Right? Because splitting it up, even if we accept that you needed it to be 2%, I think there's a legitimate discussion around should it have been split across 2 different years and essentially give folks an opportunity to raise prices twice. And we know when you do a 1% increase in GST, it's not 1% increase in prices.
Yeah.
Right? $1 doesn't go to $1.01.
Yeah.
It goes to $1.50 maybe. And doing that twice, that's why people are feeling the real pain of it. And so there is a legitimate question around, even if I accept that it was necessary, which we don't necessarily do, right? There is still a discussion to be had around, was it even the right way to do it? And that's, I think, the kind of perspective we want to bring into the discussion to ensure that it's not just about the big question around do we raise it, but also like specifically, how should we actually do it such that we minimize the impact on the average Singaporean as a consequence of that need.
I just want to add on to
So
that.
you're writing a question.
Okay, just want to add on to that point, right? So I mean, we have demonstrated in Parliament before, if the policy is really in the best interest of Singapore and Singaporeans, we will support it. But we do know that in any policies, there will always be trade-offs, right? And human nature is such that if I want to pass a policy, I will highlight the benefits, but I will not really highlight the trade-offs, right? So I think the role of the opposition is also to highlight these trade-offs so that people who are affected by this trade-off, their concerns will also be addressed and mitigated, and nobody will be left out and left behind in this policy trade-off. So I think that's really also the role of the opposition, right? Because I mean, we hear from residents that a lot of times the policies does affect them, right? Perhaps they felt that they were the trade-off, right? It's for the country's good, but I get affected. So how are you going to help me with that?
Yeah.
Right. So I think our role is also really to highlight that there are this trade-off. Hang on, can we do something about that?
Yeah.
And not leave anyone behind in our
Actually,
program.
I want to ask. I don't know if it's a stupid question or cannot say or whatever. But is there a policy you're agree? Like you all see the policy, then you're like good, because I have
Like a
never
PAP policy, you mean?
yeah. So far,
Okay.
I never hear.
Okay, so I think for us, right, for Workers' Party, our main proposition is we are loyal opposition, we're a loyal Singaporean, right? A lot of policies that are foreign facing, are external facing. We want to stand together with the government and show a united front.
Right.
So like the two-state solution, all those things, we do agree.
Okay.
I think that's really our role. I mean, we don't want to be speaking against Singapore, I mean, in front of like others, right? In terms of external issues. So that's, well, we have been quite clear, right? Unless it's really something that we think that should be discussed further. So I think that's what we have been standing together on.
Right.
Yeah.
Mike, go. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Prophet.
No, I
wrote
think,
down.
so I think I agree. I think Pritam also just recently his statement, he agreed with PM about foreign interference. So I don't think we can say that the Workers' Party opposes for the sake of opposing. So my question is on the wealth tax, and this is standard response or counter to people who say, oh, you want more economically redistributive policies. Who pays for it, right? So who pays for it? So let's say wealth tax or higher income tax. Wouldn't that deter investors? I mean, not that I agree with that, but how would you respond to that, those kinds of arguments?
Yeah, I think it's a careful calibration, right? I think if it was a very easy formula, everyone would do it. The reality is, it matters what other countries are doing, what we are doing, because every business, every individual is making a decision based on what other options they have in the world. Particularly now that we're so global and money can be moved quite easily, we need to kind of continue calibrating that. And that's actually why we also often advocate for more transparency around what's actually happening, right? Because you can say today that the right tax rate should be this, or the right policy to bring in foreign talent should be this. But if you don't keep a very close pulse on it, and not just one individual or one agency, but various folks, professors, researchers, actually looking at data and trying to find out what actually is happening, then you have a better chance at these mistakes or these kind of gaps being identified quickly and being able to solve them. If you want to have that sit within one individual, one agency, you got to hope they get it right 100% of the time, but I'm guessing that's probably not going to be the case. And I think that's kind of why we need to always have an eye on like how to calibrate policies rather than trying to figure out what's right, what's wrong, because that will always change almost every day.
He melted my heart with professors already.
I just
No, he pointed out
He melted John with researchers.
I mean, I use Google. I know use Google, lah. You know.
That counts.
Yeah.
That counts.
Speaking of researchers, and we are researchers, so we looked into the manifesto as well, and we were reading
Yeah.
we came to the part about clearer metrics on foreign workforce.
Sure.
I want to know what are the metrics that you are looking for.
I think it's in the manifesto.
Yeah.
There are a couple of pieces around that. For example, skills transfer, right? Ensuring that companies are transferring skills more deliberately.
How do we measure?
Yeah, so I think this is actually what we talked about at the round table. And it's one that is not easy, I admit, right? A lot of these things that we want to measure are not easy to measure. But I don't think that should be a reason why we don't measure it, right? So for skills transfer, for example, there are ways to proxy whether companies are doing their part to move skills from the foreign talent that they have into the local workforce. That can be through explicit training programs that they run. It can be through mentorship programs that they record and track and report to the government. There are ways to do this, right? But the kind of like big picture perspective here is like it's good that we chase industry ahead of a talent pool. That has to happen sometimes because we don't always have the talent pool ready for whatever new industry comes up tomorrow. And so it does make sense that we have to bring foreign talent in the first instance to ensure that we can actually make a dent in the industry. But then after that, you want to make sure that there is a deliberate process through which companies are actually investing in trying to find a local workforce so that you have that kind of transfer eventually to the second, third generation of workers who will be primarily local, right? Biotech is an example, AI might be an example going forward. Then it needs to be this kind of a process. And will we perfectly measure it? Probably not. But can we at least get a sense of it? Right? I don't think we should throw our hands up because we cannot perfectly measure it. We should say, let's try to do a little bit of it so we can get a pulse.
And how do we think about when it comes to protecting jobs with Singaporeans and Singaporean workers? How do we do that without making Singapore less attractive to foreign investment and foreign businesses?
I'll make it simple. I think it's the same answer I gave Walid just now, right? Which is I think it's a careful calibration, right? It's very difficult to always be towing that balance, which is all the more reason why we need to continually look at how job statistics are trending across various industries, and not just one person again looking at it, but many people looking at it and calling out gaps, because you have to continually calibrate this policy, right? If it was easy, every country would get it right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it's about how do we have the right transparency in the way we share data around what's happening, such that what you're saying, we want to have a world where we are bringing in the talent where it benefits Singaporeans and not when it doesn't. How do we ensure we have a good eye on that so that we continually calibrate policies to ensure that the impacts are what we want it to be?
I have a question that's rather general, right?
Yeah.
And I'm hoping you can dumb it down for me, okay?
Yeah.
That I think the Workers' Party, along with many other opposition parties, even the incumbent, right?
Sure.
They talk about lowering the cost of living. So let me focus on the opposition, on trying to lower the cost of living. And cost of living in Singapore has gotten out of control under PAP's rule. My question is, with cost of living going up all over the world, no one has cracked it yet. Why does every opposition party in Singapore feel like they can crack rising cost of living? So why am I not seeing? But dumb it down for me, okay? I'm not very smart.
I think the simple answer is there are local factors and there are global factors, right? And so there are factors that we cannot control and that will always drive prices up, unfortunately, right? Trade wars happening elsewhere, tariffs, all that good stuff, right? But there are also local factors, right? There is no trade war that led to the GST rise. There is no trade war that led to utility pricing changing, right? Ultimately, there are factors that we can control. And I think what we're saying is let's take a deeper lens on it. Let's take a deeper look at it and really think if there are areas where we can at least alleviate the problem slightly. Why solve it? I don't think this is quite about solving the cost of living problem in the sense that there will always be factors that we cannot control. But there are factors that are within our control that we can use to mitigate.
Just want to add on to that. I mean, the factors that we can control, right? Then why are we doing that to turbocharge inflation, right? GST
You're referring to
increase,
GST
yeah. For that matter, like, so I think Singaporeans are very reasonable. So if you explain to them there are certain factors that we can't control, like there's a war in Ukraine and things like that, right? Singaporeans will understand. But if you do things that is within your control and it seems to have perhaps rapidly increase inflation or increase inflation further, I think that's what that breaks the camel's back, right? We are already facing all these external factors, right? And then internally, we ourselves have to increase GST and add on to that burden. I think that's what Singaporeans are not happy about. I really think Singaporeans are really reasonable people.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think a lot of this, a lot of this taxation stuff come from Singapore's very low TFR, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not asking you this as Workers' Party, right? But as someone from the sidelines outside of Parliament, looking at how the government manages the country, do you feel like there was more the government could have done a long time ago for TFR? To a certain extent, right? As a creative agency, right, they are putting briefs on let's get people to make friends. At first, it was like dating, and then let's have people make friends because Singapore's not even making new friends anymore. Right? We're going so high up the funnel, right?
Yeah,
people not seeing that as well.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But I think when the government tried attacking this problem, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, maybe when they first started it, the primary method was giving some kind of a baby bonus. Right? It was kind of throwing money at the problem, if you will. But I think what is very clear today that should have been clear then is that it isn't about the money. It's part of it. But the entire system needs to be built around it. It's about leave systems, about flexible arrangements, it's about childcare arrangements, about education, it's about housing.
Yep.
It's about transportation, being able to have access to that to bring 3 kids around. Right? These things all matter in the decision to have a child. And I think it was a very simplistic solve initially, which didn't really work. And now the government, I think, is realizing that it's actually a whole system's very complex solve, not easy to do, but it needs to be done in that way. And I think that is, if you want to call like a gap in the way it was thought through, right? Was that I think it came too late in the game, right? In terms of thinking about when we should have actually done a lot more things to create the ecosystem that made it easy for folks to choose to have kids, versus kind of thinking that, you know, maybe money would be enough to get people over the edge.
Prof. Walid?
I just wanted to say John is very disarming. You know? He starts a question with, "Oh, this is very stupid," but actually it's such a sharp.
Where?
Just makes
You give him too much credit.
really, he's very.
Hey, why you diss me?
Okay.
I wanted to switch gears a bit.
Yes.
Is it okay? So some people have said that Faisal is carrying the Tampines team.
Sure.
And he's one person with 4 new people, 4 very able people, of course.
Yeah.
But he's the only known person. Do you think that's fair?
Okay, I think I'll answer that. I think Faisal also answered that question. He is a team effort. I mean, it's a GRC system, right? So it's a team effort. And I think he feels the same way as me, and I think all the team members. We are very proud to be in this team. We are a team of diverse talents, but of course we have a common purpose, which is to serve Singapore and Singaporeans, right? I mean, we have Michael, who is so well spoken. I mean, he's a tech startup founder. Myself is a psychologist, and now, of course, Faisal has a lot of experience as an MP. And then we have Eileen, a former diplomat, and she's really conversant in Mandarin. And I think that actually let her actually sort of interact very well with some of the residents who are Mandarin speaking, right? And of course, we have Jimmy. Jimmy is a resident of Tampines. He's really popular there. I mean, we always get delayed by him because there's so many people I talk to him.
Come on, Jimmy.
So I think we have a superb team, and so I think it's not just Faisal. I think Faisal is also really proud of the team, and it's going to be a great team effort.
Where is the hardest constituency? Constituency, I mean, a group of voters that will be hardest to convince for you? By age group or by class, by race, whatever it is. What do you think is the where the elections will be won or lost on?
Okay, my experience, I mean, majority are actually quite positive, right? Of course, I have some.
So you won already, basically.
No. Okay, we'll see. Okay, like I say, it doesn't always translate into votes, right? I mean, there's some who really are quite upset with us for being there, and we do meet some of them. They are saying like, oh, why are you so disruptive, and why are you coming to disrupt the government, and so forth. And these are generally those a bit older folks. I mean, they are the generation that have really benefited from PAP policies of the past. Some of them told me, I bought my house for 40,000, now it's like 300,000-400,000, right? So obviously they are benefited, and I think they are grateful. But what I did tell them as well is, but how about our future generations, right? They are not going to benefit as much if we're going to do the same thing over the years again. So that's the profile that we see that maybe less receptive to us.
I have a community question for you. This is from our user Millennial, who for Dr. Ong. Given the growing concern about public sector psychologists moving to the private sector due to comparatively lower salaries and such like that, does the Works Party have any plans or proposals to try and improve this issue? I mean, fix this issue, try and retain talent?
Oh, okay. That will take out a lot of time.
We read the cliff notes.
Okay, so I think generally, in terms of mental health, I think we are in the correct direction. We have done much over the past 10 to 15 years. The thing that I'm really pushing for is more resourcing, right? A lot of times, I come from a public sector, I come from IMH, right? A lot of staff are overworked. The workload is so high, especially after COVID. Right, we really see a spike in referral numbers.
IMH people stress, they do what? Where do we go to?
Okay, so generally we do have our own peer support.
Okay.
Right?
Talk to each other.
Talk to each other. and
question,
because a lot of things we can't share with our families as well. I mean, patient confidentiality and stuff. So we really need to have more resourcing to build the pipeline. And because currently we only have 2 schools in Singapore that sort of produces clean sites. I think soon we have another one, but that's still not enough because each batch we can only produce about 20-ish.
Right.
So if we only have 40 plus a year, I mean, that's not enough because we still have, we still need psychologists in the social service sectors as well, community and so forth. So we really need to pump in more money to build the pipeline. And also to make sure that our mental health practitioners are not just psychologists, are well taken care of. They should be remunerated based on the work that they do. It is a lot of emotional labor, which people don't really see. I mean, we don't sort of do a surgery and then save a life, right? But actually, a lot of times we do save a life, right? But it is not as obvious. And perhaps because of that, the value doesn't seem as much, and they are not paid accordingly. So to put it short, much more resourcing. We are in the correct direction, but we need more resourcing. A recent study suggests that the economic cost of depression and anxiety alone, right, cost Singapore $15.7 billion.
Wow.
I always figure out how we count these things.
I don't. I have to
As
ask
a
the health
researcher, I don't know,
economist.
sir, but
Research.
We'll probably tell you. We'll probably tell you how to calculate it.
Yeah, but guess how much is the healthcare expenditure on mental health each year? Okay, so
I don't know, sorry.
okay,
Yeah.
at least based
This
on the
our
information,
interview,
based on our information that we know, right? FY20 to FY22, right? Average of $400 million per year. Right, 400 million versus 15.7 billion. I mean, you can see that it doesn't really match.
Right. But the bottom line is we need more money for social services, right?
Yes.
But then there's
we
also let's not increase GST.
Yeah.
But we need more money given to the people. Then how do we reconcile that?
Okay, so in our manifesto, we did state various ways to increase revenue. So those should be enough, right, to help to fund.
Which is what should you enter Parliament, you would actually go into Parliament and propose ways to increase government revenue.
I mean, that's in our manifesto.
If there's a need for it.
Yeah.
If there's a need for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I think the point is if there is a need for it.
That's fresh for me.
The question is GST the right mechanism or is NIRC reformulation the right solution? And that's where I think discussion will be.
Yeah.
Right. I want to move a step away from policy. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like we also spoke to
Yeah.
for a long time already. Yeah. So both of
So
you,
what are
being-
you moving to? Yeah.
the daily catch-up stuff, if I'm being honest. But you can jump back. You can jump back, yeah? So both of you being first-time candidates and with an opposition party, how do you why and how do you feel about stepping into politics, knowing the sacrifices and the trade-offs?
Okay, so I mentioned before, in the sense that for us, we really try very hard to help our patients cope with their emotional struggles, right? But we often feel very helpless when the factors that affects our patients' mental health is really structural, right? So there comes a time where you feel that enough is enough, right? If I don't address the structural factors, a lot more young people would be affected in terms of their well-being and mental health. I mean, that's what really motivated me to go into politics.
Right. Yeah. Why wouldn't you, like, for example, when you tell your family about it, right? Because you're going to resign from your job and then you join the opposition.
I'm not.
You didn't.
I did resign.
Oh, you didn't resign. You stepped down.
I stepped down from my leadership position.
Okay. Sorry, that's not the same thing. Yeah.
Okay, I still need a job.
He buff what you there.
I love this.
Maybe this can be my side hustle.
No. When you assume. Okay. How about yourself then? I move on. I don't want to.
I'll let you off.
I mean, for me, I think I'm driven by the belief that the system we have today is probably not right for the long term for us, and that it's. I've been
What was it you think?
Yeah.
the single party system.
Okay.
Right, one where there is kind of a singularity of perspective in the way things are done, and I think that it's not healthy for the way we're moving forward. And I think people want a little bit more than that today, and I think I'm not alone in that opinion. And if I want it to change, I probably have to do something about it rather than be on the sidelines the entire time. So I think that really was what kind of drove me to do it. I think it's an incredibly stressful, scary thing to do.
Yeah.
Genuinely,
Oh, shit,
right?
yeah.
I mean, I talked about how when I first started volunteering, I didn't want to be pictured in blue, much less be on a podcast today sitting in this shirt, right?
Yeah. But you're happy to be here, right?
You were sent here.
But yeah, so I think obviously we've come a very long way since then as a nation, right? I think people are a lot more welcoming and willing to come forward and help out in this space. We're not quite there yet, but I think I was willing to kind of step forward and see if I could try and help the process a little bit.
Just want to add on to what Michael is saying. I mean, as a psychologist, I do teach my patients to have balanced thinking. Right? You cannot be always focusing on negative. Of course, you can't be super positive as well, because life is not positive. Right? So I think the same applies in Parliament. There must be a balanced Parliament so that it will be a healthy Parliament. It will be a healthy Singapore.
And for that reason, it never crossed your mind to say, let's affect change from, let's say, the incumbent party. It was...
Okay, to be honest, I've been in public service for 22 years. And
Trying to affect
and
change.
the last few years as senior management. I would say in the current structure, it would be quite hard to change from within, right? Because I mean, there's certain political philosophy and thinking. So my own assessment is it would be faster and probably better if we do it from outside. Again, I think at the end of the day, we really want to work together, whether it's with PAP or with other political parties, right, for the betterment of Singapore, right, by providing that diverse perspective. We're not being disruptive or anything. Okay, we just really want to have that balanced view in Parliament so that no Singaporeans will be left out in the policy making.
Yeah, so I had an interview with Bayam King just now. And I said
Sick
to
flex.
him,
Why are you flexing on the podcast?
no, because they haven't come on yet. So I said to him that if voters vote based on constituency work, the PAP will win. If the voters vote based on parliament, what they want in parliament, the Workers' Party will win in Tampines. Do you guys agree with that?
I think that's a bit of a false choice.
Oh wow!
Right? Like
Let's start the timer.
I would hope that we have proven and our case will be made that we will get the constituency stuff right. I think Aljunied, Hougang, Sengkang is evidence of that, right? That, we will be able to ensure that residents don't think, we are worse off because we have the Workers' Party in Parliament in terms of their constituency, but then they would gain a lot more in terms of what they actually get in Parliament in terms of agitating for change in the way they want it.
Yeah, so
20 seconds.
Thank you for that. No wonder he's not having a good time. Can't say a simple
I'm
thing.
pretty sure you want to get his autograph.
Still less stressful than the round table. No. So the issue is, I agree with you, and I think looking at the town council report, the WP town councils do very well, right? So as well as the Tampines town council that is run by PAP.
Prof, sorry, close to the mic.
Oh, so
People complaining.
the only issue is that sometimes people still say things like, "Oh, I see my MP a lot," right? So for instance, my own MP, Bayam King is my MP. I honestly think he's carrying the PAP team. I think the others, two new ones, the other two incumbents are not popular, not as popular definitely. So people still value these kinds of, and you are just disadvantaged because you haven't been there. That's what I mean. Not that WP doesn't have a good track record in running town council. So do you think at least the lack of incumbency advantage will factor? Or maybe we've seen their faces for too long. We need new faces,
Okay, so I think some of the residents did ask us. I mean, they did give some of the similar feedback. I mean, what we do assure them is if we do get elected into Parliament and become the MP, we will be the people's MP, right? We'll be on the ground, we'll be connecting with them, we'll be talking to them, co-creating solutions and so forth. And be like that Tampines family that I was made to feel welcome into. So in that sense, we are trying to assure them that we will give you our full attention. I mean, we can't blame some of the ministers because they might be busy, right?
We can blame them, right? Because that's part of the job description as well. Right?
Okay, I will say that. Just trying to be nice. Okay.
I think you're INFP. Okay, sorry.
Is it? Can you just confirm so we can move on?
He's a very peacemaker.
You see? Can you
I'm
just...
a psychologist. I mean, that's one of my traits. I mean, at the end of the day,
You're
again,
a psychologist. You don't believe in MBTI,
Yeah,
right?
right. It's a pseudoscience, right? Please, I'm begging you.
We
Please
can
tell me.
debate on
Please start the timer.
yeah. So
Oh, wow, the MBTI has been destroyed.
okay, yeah. So really, I think we really just want the residents to feel that we are doing this together with them, right? I mean, I think the advantage for us, our team, is we're just a bunch of ordinary Singaporeans, right, trying to serve, right? So I think that also helps with the connection, right? We are the ones that at least I take public transport, right, and I know the challenges and the frustration when train breaks down, is overcrowded and so forth. This helps us connect with the residents better, right? And I think that's the one advantage that our team has. We are really just ordinary Singaporeans, and we just want to serve and
Just one follow-up question, sorry, on this.
No worries.
So one of the things I've heard is Tampines has 3 malls. Tampines Hub is one of the best maintained estates. So what else do you want? What else do residents want? Why shouldn't people vote for PAP? How would you respond to that?
You're just asking for your constituency.
Well, they are contesting
yeah.
there,
Why don't you
right?
turn on your blog so they can do shit around it?
Okay, so I just want to, I mean, again, some residents do ask that. Okay, I think really beyond infrastructure, right, is really that spirit, that sense of connectedness with each other, social participation, and I mean, in the past we call it kampong spirit, which cannot be sort of built up by just infrastructure. Of course, you can have infrastructure to try to encourage people to come and so forth, but it's really that social connectedness, that willingness to be with each other, to support each other. That's the one that is important. So we hope that beyond the infrastructure, our team can infuse that spirit into Tampines as well.
So, well, I mean, any other particular your blog? No worries, we can. So we did talk about this earlier with Professor, and it was about the 4-corner fight that we have seen going on in the place you're contesting. The streets are saying that in situations like these,
Again.
the streets, they be saying, and they're saying that it hurts the opposition a lot more than it ever could hurt the incumbent, as it splits up all of the votes that could go to you guys. Is that a concern?
I mean, if you look at the last 4-corner fight, when was that?
Punggol is by
Exactly. And how did that turn out?
Couple hundred votes for the other guys. Yeah,
Exactly.
Each of them got 300.
I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in this election. I think all we can do is keep our heads down and try and do the best we can and make our case to the Tampines voters. History has suggested that it's possible still to come out on top in that scenario. But again, that's by-election effect. That's an entirely different scenario. Like we cannot rely upon that. But I think it's not that kind of the game is over just by the virtue of the fact that it is a 4-cornered fight. So I think we're doing our best to get a message out there, and we hope that we can.
I don't think it's
we can
over.
get
I
off.
think you guys have Tampines. That's
Wow.
Wow, this is a really big. Yeah.
He was. I think he was influenced by the rally itself. Like that was
No,
the.
I feel like it's,
really,
it's the internet.
It's the internet.
The comments. The online streets lah.
The online street.
So actually, well, I think this GE has been very exciting. Lots of statements, a lot of clapbacks going on back and forth. And I want to ask you a question that I'm going to help ask for you to the PAP tomorrow when they come on. And I've also asked them the same question. Is there something you admire or secretly envy maybe about the PAP?
Oh, that's a good question.
What have they done right?
What have they done? Okay, I'm not sure what.
Sorry, you gotta be
Sorry,
yeah, microphone is really. I swear it's not bad one, but I don't know why it's like,
It's me. I just like to sit back and relax. Okay, the one thing that I think we do envy the PAP is the resources that they have. The resources.
Wow, that's not a compliment.
I think that's really true. I mean, we are really the underdogs, lah. Okay, our efforts are really volunteers driven. Right, well, we're so grateful to them. I mean, even now, I think they are still planning what's the schedule for tomorrow, where's the best place, and so forth.
The thing I admire about the PAPs, they have fewer volunteers than us. That we are the underdog.
Okay, you know what? Since he did that, Michael, you your answer, and you can't use resources as an answer.
No, I think I admire that they.
easier to buy shirt.
yeah.
Sorry.
Because what?
No, I mean honestly, I think they have been very nice to us. Right. I think every time we interact with them, honestly, they've been nothing but kind, shaking our hand, wishing each other good luck. Like I think that there's no animosity in this, and I think I admire that they can kind of be able to come to this race with that kind of mindset and be incredibly kind to us through it.
Yeah, I really echo that. I mean, we met there a few times during the campaigning. I mean, it feels like, okay, of course, we have different political positions, but we are really actually doing this for Singapore. So it really feels like, I mean, we are not like enemies or rivals.
You're comrades actually.
Yeah. So we ask about each other, right? How are you keeping up? Are you doing well?
Right.
Do you drink enough water and things like that? Okay, like psychologists. So I just want to make sure that they also keep well, right, and keep sane as well. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just
No, that's not this. It's just a psychologist.
It's a psychologist.
Oh, I thought I changed a slogan.
and keep safe and sane, right? I mean, it's pressurizing, we know, right? I mean, we are all fellow contestants or in this election, so I think we should just look out for each other, lah. At the end of the day, we are still Singaporeans, right? We're not like, I don't know, enemies or whatever. So I think we're really glad that this is happening. I think in the past it may not have, but at least for now, I think we're mature enough to respect each other, to respect each other's different points of views. Of course, sometimes we may take a little bit of dig at each other, but that's just part of campaigning and politics.
Cool. And anyway, I'm mindful of time as well. Thank you for taking it to be here. And I want to ask you, just to leave our viewers and especially the residents of Tampines GRC, do you have a message for them? And what does a vote for you signify?
Okay, so message to the Tampines
Bro, you are the
residents.
18 one, you every time. They send you to TV.
I'll just start first lah.
You closer, you're the closer.
Okay, okay.
Respect.
Yeah, I'm the big brothers. I'm
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
What was the vote for Tampines?
Okay, so I just really want to tell the resident of Tampines that we are really appreciative that you really welcome us. We really feel like we've been welcomed into a family.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Resident of Tampines.
What we can do for you, really, like what I mentioned just now, we want to be a people's MP. We want to connect with you. We want to work with you, right? And we want to make Tampines a better place for everyone.
Yeah.
So direct.
He's talking directly to you.
I think I got his vote.
They knocked your door already. Later you let them know the address.
Consider this the knocking.
Tonight at 2 a.m. you go and...
Just give us the address later. No, I mean, so to Walid and all other Tampines residents, I think in addition to a kind of a people's MP that we obviously strive to be, and that is the part of the Workers' Party DNA, I think we want to also give you that step forward towards a system that would have your voice reflected in Parliament a little bit more, right? I think a lot of people that maybe you know, or maybe yourself, right, sometimes feel like you're not heard in the process and you're not part of the process. Hopefully, having 5 more Workers' Party faces that you know, or 6 if you include Changkat, you will feel like your process, that the process includes you and that you are part of it.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
That was very good.
You sold So we asked you this, I think, at the start of when we first met you, right? When you first come here, do you have you already decided who you're gonna vote on? Have you today?
Yeah, I think so. I've decided before this already.
So later you can tell me.
Yeah, of course.
And with that, well, thank you so much, and best of luck to the both of you. Thank you so much for being on our show here today.
No, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you very much for watching as well. We'll be back tomorrow with the last of our live streams. And well, the PAP, some of the PAP people will be joining us tomorrow. So tune in.
Who?
Find out. Oh, you'll find out.
Oh,
You gotta
we're gonna tease it up there real quick. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Oh.
I look left, look right. Look left, look right. For a career path. I look left, look right. Look left, look right. For a career path. I look left, look right. Look left, look right. I look left, look right. I look, left, right, left, right. 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 Is this a request considered too high? I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right for a career path. I look left, look right, look left, look right. I look left, look right. I look, left, right, left, right. 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 Is this a request considered too high? I look left, look